Hello everybody, I'm Seth Weissman and welcome to another episode of Safe Real Estate. Today we're going to talk about a challenge that sellers are facing in this market with buyers who are trying to make their offers look great. And what some buyers are doing is submitting an offer without any financing contingency attached whatsoever. And when the seller sees that contract, they say, boy, this is just super. No financing contingency. Certainly this means that the buyer is paying all cash and that this transaction will definitely close. And that is sometimes an incorrect assumption to make. Because even without a financing contingency attached, the buyer is still allowed to obtain a mortgage on the property. The contract is simply not contingent on that event. So if the buyer fails to get a mortgage, the buyer likely is going to breach the contract and lose their earnest money. So how does a seller, when the seller gets multiple offers, how does the seller figure out which one really is all cash and which one is not? And the answer is, if the buyer attaches no financing contingency, the seller should counter, and in my judgment, I recommend you attach an all-cash exhibit to the contract, which then specifies whether or not the buyer has the right and privilege to get a mortgage loan. And frankly, if the seller counters saying this is an all-cash transaction and you agree not to obtain a mortgage loan, if the buyer is planning to obtain a mortgage loan, the buyer is quickly going to counter and the seller is going to realize that, hey, this really is not an all-cash transaction, and the buyer is in fact preserving their right to go get a mortgage. Now, if there is no financing contingency attached to the contract, it really creates another issue, which is the seller then does not have an ability to ask the buyer for proof of funds. The seller's right to ask for proof of funds only exists if you attach either a financing contingency or an all-cash exhibit to the purchase and sale agreement. But the real bottom line here is that when sellers get offers without any financing contingency whatsoever attached to the offer, that is not necessarily as good as it seems. And sellers really want to then take some additional steps to protect themselves. And the best way to do that is to counter with an all-cash exhibit. I hope this episode of Safe Real Estate was beneficial. As always, it's great to see everyone. Please continue to tune in. Bye now.